Lincoln. I worked with him last Saturday night. What an experience. It was fun, don't get me wrong. It's not as sleazy or as kinky as I might let it sound like it was. It was a lot of fun. Lincoln was very easy to work with. His ideas might be a little bit twisted, but whose ideas aren't once in a while? Lincoln just has a more realistic way of getting his approach across. You know, some people use flowers and sentiment, and he uses blood and guts. And sex. Well, although he says this was the first time he's ever used sex. So, and I was the guinea pig, and I'm assuming I did pretty well, for the most part anyway. It was a lot of fun. We had, me and my co-star, Scott, we were having sex, but we weren't having sex, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure a lot of you go through that anyway. It was a lot of still shots because it's a multimedia presentation, slides and photographs and everything. And it was really easy. It's like, it didn't even feel like we were simulating sex. It was just, we were there, we were posing. So granted, when this whole production comes together, all the slides are going to be going in such a quick succession that it's going to feel like they're having sex right there in front of you. And it didn't even feel like that at all. I didn't feel uncomfortable one bit. It was a very relaxed, social atmosphere. You know, we were singing, we were talking, we were laughing. A lot of fun. A good experience. Can't wait to repeat it.
Crew now.
The crew. Well, there was Lincoln, the director. He was very, very easy to work with, like I said. Really made me feel at ease, considering this was my first type of performance that wasn't on stage. He was very nice. He treated the cast very well. He fed us. Barbecued potato chips for all. No, he did feed us. There was Mondo, the photographer, with his very, very good sense of humor. We kept teasing him about the number of women he's ever had in his life and how all the women just seemed to gravitate toward him. Scott probably really enjoyed the whole sex scene shoot bit. For the most part that we were simulating sex. It might have been the closest he's ever gotten to having sex. I don't know. No, you didn't hear me say that, no. Sorry, Scott, I'm just kidding. And then there was Matt, who did some of the documentary filming towards the end. And of course there was Victor, who was being very, very attentive to me, almost too attentive. You know, doing the sweat scenes, making sure we had enough sweat, making sure I had water to drink, and you know, Victor was just a wee bit too attentive for my sake. Crew was great to work with. I completely enjoyed working with the crew. It was so much fun. I hadn't had that much fun in months, years. It's great. It was exciting.
Talk about that.
As far as the storyline and the characters, well, the storyline's pretty twisted, as you can tell, but the guy's character is pretty much developed. You know what he is, you know he's psycho, so it doesn't matter what he does, whether it's rational or irrational. My character, you don't really know. She's just somebody that he picks up one day and they fall in love and they get together and they have sex and then he kills her. So the violence really doesn't bother me, because it's so ludicrous, it's so stupid that's actually happening. This guy has sex with this girl and he kills her. So I didn't feel at all threatened or scared or upset that I'd be doing a sex scene, that I'd get killed later with lots of blood or anything. I mean, okay, not many people want to have this gooey blood stuff on them, but I don't know, I'm really, it's just the whole concept of the whole thing is just so exciting to me that it doesn't matter what actually goes on. I don't mind the fact that it's violent. I mean, yeah, it's a pretty violent, it's a very disturbing picture of this young man having nightmares that he's going to kill somebody and then he actually kills a woman. Just, we don't know why, we really don't know the motivations, but just because he's had a flashback about it, and, you know, we don't know why he has the flashbacks or what, but just the fact that this kind of event happens, you know, it's happening in this presentation, and for all we know, it happens in real life. And yeah, it's very disturbing on the whole. Filming it wasn't a problem. you know, if not for pure entertainment, but for public service form or something, public service message or something, I don't know. So it's a lot of fun.
Good.
As far as the nudity was concerned, yes, we were simulating being naked. You know, my shirt gets unbuttoned, his shirt gets unbuttoned, I do his belt buckle. And then there's the scenes where we're under the sheets. And, you know, quite frankly, you can't do a nude scene wearing a t-shirt. So, of course, we don't have access to body stockings or whatever. So, the simulating the nude part, yes, I was just wearing underwear under the sheets, and I wasn't wearing a bra or anything. People will say, my God, you have this guy that's acting like he's on top of you, and you're not wearing a bra or anything. He's like right next to you, your nakedness. And I don't know if it was just the atmosphere or the co-stars or what it was. It didn't matter. I mean, for one thing, the whole world wasn't going to see me being actually, you know, butt naked right there in front of them. I was simulating the nudity. You know, a lot of times what they think they can see is more important than what they can actually see. And I think a lot of that probably played into my mind and made me feel more at ease doing the nude scene. I'm lying in bed with a total stranger, practically, and the only thing keeping us from each other is our underwear, for goodness sake. So it was just, I just really lucked out and had a really good co-star who I felt at ease with, and it didn't matter who was in the room. You know, there's the crew, Lincoln, Mondo, the very attentive Victor, and of course Scott, my co-star. And it didn't bother me. At first I thought I might have to be naked. Oh gosh, I balked at it at first, but it was a lot of fun because it was the whole image, the whole thought, the whole process of doing a performance. You know, it really didn't matter. It was just a lot of fun. It was like another kind of costume. I had the comfort of covering me up. That was a costume. So as far as always doing nude scenes, well, I like the simulation of being naked a lot better than actually flaunting myself in front of the whole world, because I don't do that. Contrary to popular belief, I'm sure. Lincoln was very easy to work with, and I'm sure I'd continue to do the same types of scenes for his films, just because he was a lot of fun to work with. Doing nude scenes for other people, I'd have to think about it, but I don't know. So, as far as doing nudity, it was okay. It wasn't a big deal. It was fun. The whole concept was fun, and I think I just forgot that I was naked.
Okay.
Okay. What do I say? I guess my name is it's Armando Diaz. God, how long have I known Lincoln? I've known Lincoln, let's see, about, I would say close to about 2 years, 2.5 years, something like that. The first project we worked on was Samantha, the major motion picture starring, I presume, Martha Plimpton, that hasn't been released yet here in the States. We worked on this project both as, I guess we were electrical grips, I guess we can consider ourselves. They called us in and one day and we went ahead and did it. What else can I tell you? From then on, that was, I would presume, the fall of 1991. No, fall. Spring of 91 is when it was. And then we saw Lincoln. I saw Lincoln every once in a while. We never really talked until last interterm, January of 1992. We were working on another project here that was called The Last Leaf, and I was second assistant director. I want to make that sure, right? Because there were some problems last time about me being assistant director, and the assistant director got a little perturbed. But anyways, Lincoln was a grip. Were you a grip? I think you were a grip on this.
Something like that, yeah.
I think you were a grip on this project, and he had brought a copy of his script that he wanted some people to work on. Well, I'm like saying all the time.
We'll edit it.
We'll edit. Okay, good. Make me sound better than I am. He brought in the copy of his script and asked a couple of the crew members that were working on the interterm film to see if they would want to be part of his film. Well, it was a typical, at the time I didn't know it was a typical Lincoln Kupchak film, but now that I see it, it was rather typical. We had, it was a takeoff, a spoof on horror films called, if you've seen it by now, it's called Terror in the Hot Tubs. I was the cinematographer, director of photography on the film, I guess we'll call it. I was the director of photography. We worked under strenuous conditions. But all in all, it was rather a great experience. All the people were a lot of fun to work with. The only problem I had with Lincoln Kupchakowski was there were no storyboards, so I had to improvise on what exactly he wanted. It was an interesting shoot. We would shoot late nights, sometimes on weekends, during the week. Get rid of those uhs, please. We would shoot at various locations. One of the best times that we had, the location was the 2 nights that we shot at Hart Park, excuse me. We shot one scene where our actress Robin was running across, I guess, back area, and we lit that to where it seemed a little more, how do I say, a little more scary than it really was. We added some smoke to it, and the effect just came out beautifully. It was very, very nice. The other effects that we shot were the party scene that we shot. That was also kind of fun. Everybody that was involved in it, we were trying to get a big crew for the party scene, but at the last minute, there was a lot of flakes. So we had to find some people to do it, and I had to call up some of my friends, and some of those people flaked. So it was kind of a funny night. We would shoot until about 1 o'clock in the morning on almost every night that we shot. It was interesting. The next film that we worked on, it was not a Lincoln Kupchak film, but it was a Greg Salmi film entitled Fire. The next film we worked on was a Greg Salmi film, which was titled Fade Away, which I was also the director of photography on that film. I guess Lincoln and I were the only crew members on that film for 90% of the shoot. We would set up the equipment, Lincoln would run the sound, and it was a lot of work. But we gained a lot of experience on that film. We learned quite a bit. We became closer on that film, Lincoln and I, we became a lot closer. We had to bring in my younger brother to help us with the actual shooting. But that was an interesting shoot. Those were early morning shoots, unlike Lincoln's, which were late night shoots. So as I was working on Lincoln's film, I was also working on Greg's film, and it got a little strenuous because one night we would have to shoot Lincoln's film at night, and then the next morning we'd have to shoot Greg's film. So it was kind of interesting. That film, as a matter of fact, hasn't been finished yet, unfortunately. I would like to see that finished sometime. The next film that we worked on was, I guess, my production. Was it my production that we worked on? We worked on, which went through a variety of titles, which, as of right now, the whole crew likes Sex in the Age of Cholera, but I'm still battling with that title. Lincoln was a major trooper on that. He helped me out a lot. He helped sync up my dailies. He helped me with finding actors and just getting everybody together. He did quite a bit, and I could never really repay him for that. Unfortunately, every time I would try to get him something to eat, he wouldn't eat. He's more of a steak man, so, and I couldn't afford steak. That wasn't part of the budget, so. We're still working on that one. That one is still working. Hopefully we'll try to finish it this year, but we'll see. The next film, I would presume, is this multi-image shoot that we're working on with Lincoln. The multi-image shoot that we worked on, I got involved in this by, I presume, on accident. Lincoln, who is now working for audiovisual, comes up and writes a note, leaves it on my desk. The note says, Armando, I plan to shoot my multi-image shoot this Saturday. Is that okay with you? Well, what am I going to say? No? How am I going to say no? This guy has done quite a bit for me, so I guess I had to help him out. And it was an experience. It was definitely an experience. We're not done with it yet, but it's definitely an experience. We, again, we had no storyboards. We just had a basic concept, and I have to work with what he gives me, which is rather minimal. So I understand, Lincoln. Believe me, I'm trying to make you sound better than you are, but it's a little hard. Okay. The production is a typical Lincoln Kupchak, as I like to call him, Lincoln Kupchakowski, or as everybody else likes to call him by every other president's name. It's a typical horror film, I guess. Well, not a horror film. I would presume it's about a boy sees girl, boy falls in love with girl, boy has flashback, boy kills girl. I guess that's what we could call the production. It's untitled right now. The interesting thing about this project is that it was, I would presume, our first the first actual scenes that we shot that involved sex. It was a love scene, but it was done very tastefully. It was one of the hardest things that we ever did, to the sense that it was trying to keep everything really professional and making sure that the lighting was right, the actors felt comfortable with who was in there. The situation itself was the actual hard part. We knew what we were getting into. We knew it was going to be hard. The blood and gore is the easy stuff. I mean, that's no problem. The actual sensuality of this project is the hard part. Lincoln would come in, he would tell me, look, this is what I want. Like I said, no storyboards though. This is what I want. How would we do this? Well, there were several ways that we would shoot it. We would bring in lights. He wanted a certain look. We tried to bring that certain look into the scene. The actors were great to work with. Scott and Melanie. Melanie's her name. Why do I keep wanting to call her something else? The actors were great to work with. Scott and Melanie were absolutely perfect. They played off each other great. When we first started shooting the actual scenes in the bed, that's when things got a little hard. We had the situation of having the camera right in their faces, and the lighting was sometimes off, or was either a little too much, or there wasn't enough, and trying to make sure that the things that we shot, we didn't want to overexpose, for lack of a better phrase, the situation of the characters. We wanted to keep we didn't want to show too much skin, let's put it that way. Even though the situation was there, we didn't want to show that because it would take away from what the production was. We wanted to keep it tasteful. Because it is very hard to shoot. Lincoln would sometimes come up to me and he goes, well, do we want to do this or well, what we want to do is he would ask me for suggestions, and I would give him my suggestions, and we would show him. Then he would decide if that's what he liked. More than often, that's what we went with. He was very good. He kept his composure. He tried to keep the set down to a minimal amount of help. We had, I would presume, maybe besides Scott and Melanie, Lincoln, myself, and probably one other person that was involved at any given time. That was the extent of the crew. which we shot in the. You might want to cut that for a second, Lincoln.
Okay. Yeah.
The studio part was rather easy to set up. We already had the house lights, and we didn't really use too many filters or what have you, or gels. Lincoln wanted a blue look, so he had tungsten film. We put a filter on the lens of the camera, and then we gelled the studio lights. We put two more, I guess I would say we had two teeny weenies, and we gelled those to give it a bluer look. And then we went into the arduous forum and we shot there. But as I said, the hardest part was to actually shoot that love scene. Trying to position our actor so we wouldn't see vital parts of our actress. You know, we wanted to keep it as tasteful as possible. The actress she did phenomenal. She was very, very comfortable in the situation, and that's what we tried to do. We wanted to keep it comfortable for her. We didn't want to. The less people that are in there, the better, because from what I hear on sets that involve this type of a production of a love scene, there are going to be 30, 40 people on there that are going to want to gawk or what have you. But, excuse me. So that's why we wanted to keep it down to a minimum. And Lincoln did a great job with what he wanted. Is that enough? Like, should I keep going on with you and telling Lincoln's a great person and he?
Get my good side. Working on a Lincoln Cup Check production is like nothing else in the world. You really can't imagine what it's like, and really to truly put it into words. I'm sure the question is going to come up, why me, and how did I land this part? You don't really try to find parts in Lincoln's films. They seem to like turn up. Kind of like in the morning movies, like laying there by your shoes, and there you are. It's kind of like something you put on in the morning. So it's more likely to say, you know, how did you get that part? It's easier to say, I don't know, I just walked through the door and there I was in this Saigon-esque basement. That's supposed to be my apartment. Did notice though that before the girl shows up in the scene, the bed is a lot nastier. As soon as you know things start cooking, I get a better night sheet. So hey, got a little class, you know. Typecasting starts here. Let me just say that right now, okay? Because I'm supposed to be this nice all-American guy, right? You know, except for the clean-shaven part, just kind of all-American apple pie, right? But do I end up in these films? No, I don't. No. I started with Tearing the Hot Tubs as biker number 1, which quickly became known as Slash. I had a lot of fun with it, but not exactly the sort of guy you want babysitting, you know what I'm saying? And he rapes and kills. And in this film, I play a more normal sort of psychopath, and I rape and kill. And as I understand, for the next film that's in the works, I'm going to play a drugged out biker who rapes and kills. So I'm beginning to see this sort of progression of acting roles in the sort of Lincoln school of thought. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's a good crew to work with. Everybody's serious on the set, especially in a scene like a love scene. It's very difficult because you have to be professional. Otherwise, everything falls apart, and you won't get the quality you're looking for on the film. It'll be false, and no, it would be completely unbelievable, and therefore, you know, your whole film just kind of takes a nosedive. So, well, we had a surprising amount of professionalism, because that's what you really need. I mean, because we're really there for the film. Because I'd never even met Melanie until about half hour before that footage was shot. You know, so here I am, you know, on top of this total stranger, trying to make it look intimate. It's about as hard as parallel parking. It's not an easy skill. The only reason it came out as well as it did is because Melanie was so easy to work with. Let me just say that right now. I'm not an actor. I never pretended to be an actor. I'm supposed to be behind the camera, but somehow I keep ending up in front of the lens, like I am now, staring down the one-eyed snake. How many other things? Anything else we want? What else we want?
Keep going.
Okay, again, it is, okay. Considering the amount of props we usually put in to the set, which are very scant, certainly in this last, in the bedroom scene, with a mobile background that's always seemed to be in the right place, it just kind of flows with the camera. It's actually quite stunning how well the set actually turns out. No, my parents don't know I do this. And I'd rather keep it that way, so, you know, if anyone knows my parents, okay, mom's the word. It's one of the things that makes the crew work best is the fact that we all know each other, and so we're all sort of intermeshed. We understand how each other think. Now, as I understand in the real world of Hollywood, it's not always like that. I mean, you're always working with some people you don't know. You don't know if they're any good or not. You don't know where their weaknesses are, and you certainly don't know how they think. Whereas, like working with Mondo, I knew kind of how he thought, so I knew what sort of shots he'd be looking for. So when he was trying something and he was perhaps a little less than communicative, I could sort of anticipate what he was looking for, and hopefully give him something that the camera would like. And the cheese puffs were great. Okay, let me just, gotta get that on the record. Good cheese puffs. Are you getting this? What else do you need? What sort of direction you want me to take this?
Okay.
Okay. It was fun. I mean, this isn't something you get to do every day, and there's no, oh, will she call me tomorrow, any that sort of thing, because nothing really goes on. It's, at first, the only reason it would, if the crew hadn't been as good as it was, if I hadn't felt comfortable around the people I was around, and a small crew, very valuable, we probably wouldn't have gotten as cheeky as we did. Now, you can be as big a free spirit as you want, okay? But if you believe, if you start doing a love scene and your third grade English teacher is sitting in the class, sitting there watching, it kind of hinders the moment, you know what I'm saying? You got to feel comfortable with surroundings and really not be worried what other people are thinking. And when I was in the studio doing the shoot, it really didn't concern me that Mondo and Lincoln and Victor were out there mulling around with cameras and lighting equipment. And in the back of my mind I knew it, but I wasn't really concentrating on it. And that's why I think it worked as well as it did. Like I say, the wrong way, you can't attack it directly. The wrong way, you don't just like wake up and say, I think I'm going to do a sex scene today, and I think I'm going to drop all my skivvies. If you're going in with that sort of mentality, you kind of like build up sort of a mental block against it, I would think. Whereas, when I left to go to the shoot, I wasn't even really thinking about it too much. I just kind of like showed up, and I knew the shoot would go off. I knew we'd shoot something, and whatever I needed to do, I knew I'd figure out to do there. I didn't need to mentally prepare myself for anything. But then maybe again, that's why I'm not an actor. The only thing that makes nudity really troublesome is that our own let me try that again. Edit that out. The only problem with nudity, the only thing that's wrong with nudity, is the way our society has set it up in our minds. And I'm as big a victim as this as anybody. You know, some people are freer with it than others, and just because of social norms, they get looked down upon. That's why scenes like this, in films like this, really reach out, grab the audience by the eyeballs, and swing them around. Because it's shocking, something they don't see every day, something that doesn't happen on the street. There's really actually nothing wrong with it, and if everyone out there thinks about it, there's probably a situation they've been in that's similar to this, except that they don't kill their partner at the end, because, well, it's a Lincoln Kupchak production. And his killing someone is kind of the equivalent of shaking hands and saying, "Hi, how you doing?" If you don't die in a Lincoln film, there's something wrong with you, period. Like I say, there's nothing wrong with nudity, and there's nothing wrong with scenes like this if both parties agree, and if everything works out. There's no laws broken, even though it may have seemed a little less than proper.